All right, now we are going to be going over 10 fighters who I believe are the most likely to attend or at the very least get invited to a Diddy party. We are going to start with number 10 and work our way down all the way to that number 1 spot. I will give a few reasons as to why I think these fighters would be invited and whether or not they would attend or the likelihood that they would attend. Okay, we're going to start right away with number 10 on my list. Brian Ortega. Okay, now Brian Ortega, due to some of his physical features or attributes, right, his aesthetics, is why he's getting invited to this party. Okay, the dude's got beautiful long hair, right? From the back, some dudes that are looking for that kind of thing might actually assume he was a woman, depending on the outfit he had on. Do you know what I mean? So I do think that Diddy had his scouts reach out and invite Brian Ortega, not to mention he does seem to have some sort of like a pain fetish, right? Or BDSM or something along those lines where he bashes his own beak against a rock, plucks his feathers, whatever it is, right? They probably thought, ooh, we can get him here for that side of the house where they do stuff like that. Brian Ortega, however, is the only person on this list I think 100% would not attend. Brian Ortega's just glad they asked. Do you know what I mean? So, Brian Ortega coming in at number 10. Moving up to number 9, Aljamain Sterling. Now, if you've heard an Aljamain Sterling interview, you will know exactly why he's been invited. This is like self-explanatory. The guy cannot stop himself from speaking about arriving on other men's backsides. It just blurts out uncontrollably, like all the time. And listen, dude, I don't know many people that happens to. I just don't. Now, Aljamain Sterling, I'm not too sure if he would go. I think he'd be a little concerned about how that would look. I think this is why he always hits us with the pause after he said something unbelievably zesty. But, you know, I do know for sure he's getting invited because, like Brian Ortega, if you've got Diddy scouts out there listening to fighters and you hear what Aljamain Sterling says on a regular basis, you're like, oh, this dude for sure is coming to our party. Do you know what I mean? So, Aljamain Sterling coming in at number 9. Moving on down to number 8. Okay, Johnny Walker. Now, Johnny Walker is getting invited to this as the entertainment, right? Due to his former career as a male stripper, right? Johnny Walker, also, in my opinion, you know, even before all the head trauma, but definitely now with all the head trauma, does not seem intelligent enough to realize what this party's all about. I don't think he would be able to critically think, well, why am I being invited to this? What's going to be happening? Who's going to be there? And all the rest of it. So I do think Johnny Walker would just be excited that he got invited. I think he would go. I think he would dance for a little bit for them, and then he would realize this is a little bit much, a little awkward. I don't know if I should be here. And at which point I think he might, you know, just burst into the worm and try to injure his shoulder, try to replicate that moment in the octagon so Diddy can get him an ambulance and rush to the hospital and he can get out of it without having to say, I'm leaving. Do you know what I mean? So, Johnny Walker coming in at number 8. Moving on down to number 7, Khil Roundtree Jr. Okay, now Khil Roundtree Jr. has a very well-known kink or fetish, which is he likes to cry in front of large groups of other people about how fat he used to be, about being, you know, morbidly obese a few years ago or whatever it was. So I also think that Khil Roundtree Jr., we know that this guy has engaged in basically a cult. So I do believe that he would think, ooh, I can join this cult, dude, and move up their ranks, and I can be like Diddy, the cult leader's, you know, number 2 guy or something like that, right? So I think Khalil's going, and I think what he's doing is he walks into that house, he goes right to the kitchen table, he has a bunch of people sit around him, and he sits there, he monologues, and he cries about how fat he used to be, and all the guys that like that kind of thing are going to sit there and watch, and he's going to love every minute of it, all right? Moving on down to number 6, Sean O'Malley. Okay, now listen, dude. He can pretend that this kind of stuff didn't happen, or just pretend that he never said it, or never spoke about it, or all the rest of it, but like I like to say, you know what I mean? Once a cuck, always a cuck. And Sean O'Malley engaged in that sort of behavior, right? So that's why he's getting invited to this party. He just is. This is the reason. Listen, dude, I know the freak-offs largely were guy on guy, but Sean O'Malley, not necessarily, right? Sean O'Malley's going there to sit in a corner and watch. And the reason we would find out about it, this is what would happen. Sean O'Malley would be able to, in my opinion, keep this on the down low if it wasn't for his friends, right? Next, come Monday morning podcast, Schmitty would be so disappointed that while Sean O'Malley was sitting there watching his wife get dealt with by one of Diddy's mans, that nobody thought about Schmitty. He's bringing it up. And then Sean O'Malley gets outed in front of the entire world, okay? Moving on down to number 5, Ian Machado Garry. Ian the vegan. A couple different reasons he'd be invited to this freak-off. I do think he would attend, okay? Now, one of the reasons being the much the same as the aforementioned Sean O'Malley, right? But then we've got a few other compounding factors on top of this. Now, I do believe that Ian Garry has a bit of a granny fetish, okay? Not to mention a humiliation fetish to boot. It's all, you know, he's paired. He's got a cluster, right? A cluster of fetishes. And I do think he would sit there, he would enjoy it. I could see Ian Garry being the kind of guy that wants like a diaper changed or something while he watches Layla, do her thing. So, Ian Machado Garry, whatever, dude, is number 5 on my list. He would definitely attend. He would enjoy himself, and so would Layla, quite frankly. Moving on to number 4 on my list, Israel Adesanya. Okay, now Israel Adesanya is for sure getting invited to this. The only thing is his route to getting there is a little bit more complicated than the others I've mentioned thus far. Okay, now Israel Adesanya would think that he was too cool for a Diddy party. He would think he was too famous, too cool, and he's not going to that shit, right? But like we spoke about earlier, Diddy's got some unbelievable scouts who do their homework. So Diddy knew that this would happen based on Israel Adesanya's arrogant, demeanor. He got one of the largest sound systems he could possibly find, and they just blasted barking and like dogs whining from it. Israel Adesanya came to Naruto running down that street so damn fast, where Diddy actually had 2 women in dog costumes waiting for him to like seal the deal. Do you know what I mean? The dogs barking through the speakers was like the bait, and those 2 ladies out front, that was the hook. And they got him, and Naruto sprinted into that fucking house so quick, and he never left. Do you know what I mean? So Israel Adesanya for sure getting invited. Doesn't want to go at first because he's too cool. Ends up going anyways because Diddy's scouts do their homework. Moving on to number 3. All right, Peyton Talbott. Okay, now this is like an easy one, dude. We know exactly why Peyton Talbott's going. Peyton Talbott is going kind of for the same reason that Johnny Walker is going, right? He is there as entertainment, only he's going to be engaging in some much more intense and zesty forms of engagement. Pardon me, my fucking whole mouth just stuck together there. They've got Peyton Talbott doing vape tricks, in an entire corner of that mansion, and everybody's sitting there watching him. He came nails painted, he came turtleneck on, and he came with as many vapes as he could possibly fit. Okay, do you know what I mean? So Peyton Talbott definitely invited due to his unique talents, I guess you could say, and for sure showed up for that bag. He got that bag because he was like, I was gonna do this shit anyways on a Saturday night in my bedroom. Why wouldn't I go get paid for it? Moving on down the list, okay, to number 2. Jon Jones. Completely self-explanatory. Zesty as hell. He would also assume, because Diddy is who he is, that this information's not getting out, right? He would be like, no, this is somewhere I can go and be safe, not get found out. There's not going to be anybody who's like not high profile there, so nobody's going to talk about it because nobody wants to get outed, right? Jon Jones would, drag his whatever to the other side of the house thinking he needs to be more secretive, not realizing there's probably fucking cameras everywhere. Right now, Jon Jones enters that room. This might be the only room Jon Jones doesn't walk out of. At the very least, he's not walking out of it not being bow-legged. Do you know what I mean? So, Dana White, dude, there is a room, and it's in Diddy's mansion. Jon Jones ain't walking out, or if he does, he's walking out completely bow-legged like a newborn baby deer, all right? Do you know what I mean? Moving up to number 1 on my list, easiest decision of all time, Jeff Molina. Bro didn't just get invited, right? He helped organize this shit, okay? Jeff Molina is the zestiest... Dude, you know what is crazy? This guy, okay, when he went on his whole media tour, which, by the way, was very conveniently timed with the whole James Krause scandal, I do 100% believe that him coming out as a homosexual was in large part due to trying to garner sympathy or create some sort of like shield to protect himself from the James Krause allegations, right? It was literally around that exact same time. And it's a little suspicious that the video was leaked anyways, little suspicious that it didn't seem he pursued any legal, ramifications for the individual that did so. Not to mention, Jeff Molina spent like what 2 hours on two different occasions on Ariel Helwani trying to convince us that he's bisexual. Meanwhile, you do something like that. I mean, listen, dude. Either way, all right. Now that he's out and about, out of the closet, so to speak, he's gotten himself a boyfriend. So it's just, I find it funny that he comes out as bisexual and makes it very clear that that's what he is, but then immediately goes and gets a boyfriend. Like, do you know what? Listen, dude. If you do what Jeff Molina did on camera, you gay. That's okay, dude, but you are. And that's it. And that's why you got you got reached out to. You didn't really get invited. Diddy reached out to you personally. He didn't even have his scouts do it. And they went, yo, do you think you could help us get some other fighters here? And he said, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And now he finds himself in a second scandal where the leader was making way more fucking money than he was. Do you know what I mean? Jeff Molina's just taking L's year after year, dude. Year on year, Jeff Molina's taking L's. Now, that's it, dude. The top 10 fighters most likely to get invited to a Diddy party. Only one guy on this list who I thought would not attend for sure. Couple that are questionable, but in large part, dude, most, 8 out of 10 for sure going, in my opinion, due to different reasons and all the rest of it. But I think they're going, dude. All right, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you with the next video. Bye-bye.